threw it out in front. It's a pad of Holtby, who is deep in the crease, and it's 1-0 Detroit.
In the morning, don't say you love me.
12 games around the National Hockey League last night. You get the unlikeliest of scoring heroes. We'll talk about that in the Detroit-Washington game as we welcome you to Stellick and Simmer in the morning. Gord Stellick, Rob Simpson on NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM. Bruce Bennett. You got Bruce Bennett in studio. You talked to him?
Bruce Bennett's coming in, buddy.
He's the, it plays well on radio, the book of the venue with pictures. We're going to show some of the pictures here, which will be dynamite. We'll get you to think about them as you're driving or walking around. You know, he's the guy. He's been the guy forever.
He's the Einstein of...
Well, let's not carried away. He's
NHL.
not the Einstein. He's just a regular guy.
No,
but he's the photog.
Have you seen his hair? And he looks like he's got a little.
I didn't think like Einstein. I think he's just a little overdue for a cut. Is the way I look at what I see. Anyway, he's going to join us in studio. Mike Johnson. We've got him as. I
wasn't implying that Bruce was super smart.
One of our. No, he's smart. He's you kidding to be the guy for about 30, 40 years.
Yeah,
he is smart. Coming up,
director of images at Getty.
I thought you were talking about me there for a second.
That's not.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah, that's right. You are smart too, Bruce.
Bruce Bolton.
Yeah. Where's Lips?
You know, Lips is in New York.
That's right. Who's the guy? Is that Jake?
Jake the Snake.
How you doing, Jake?
Hey, Jake.
What's Jake's last name?
Han.
Han, like H-A-H-N?
Yeah, you got it.
Like
Jessica.
Wow.
Don Hahn, the old ball player. The opening day lineup for the Montreal Expos. How about that?
Well, we mentioned the Bruce Bennett. I got that reference right away, too, with the Einstein.
Yeah,
he does look
like a mini
exactly.
Einstein.
Really?
Well, he's coming in studio.
He's got like white curly hair. When you see him, you're going to go,
Okay, let's take a picture. Pretend we're taking a picture like we do for guests, like we did yesterday with Clint Malarchuk.
Yep.
And then get people secretly to tweet, get it out there. And then while he's on, people just, unbeknownst to him, at SiriusXM NHL, right? Just say if he looks like Einstein or who he looks like. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think most will say...
Waking you up to Gord Stellick and Rob Simpson, SiriusXM NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91.
So who was sitting there that had the hearing issues? So our guest joining Stellick and Simmer, Gord Stellick, Rob Simpson here, NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM Channel 91, just like blew your eardrum out. You okay?
Yeah, I think I'm okay.
Yeah. You know, a lot of great guys with great voices are hard of hearing. Joe Bowen, the late Tom Cheek did baseball. So that part of but if you ever got the headset on and you forgot to turn the volume down, what you just did now is what happened.
It kind of reminds me sometimes when you're up in the rafters hooking up the strobes and you don't hear them say horn test, and then they blow you right out of the rafters.
Nice.
Bruce Bennett joining us in studio, and yesterday was the launch, Hockey's Greatest Photos, the Bruce Bennett Collection, forward by Wayne Gretzky, Marty Brodeur. Congratulations on, a great career that continues. But to put it all together, I mean, it's a wonderful testament to you. It's a wonderful testament to the game.
Well, thanks. It was a long time coming. I shopped the project around for about 10 or 12 years, but I just kept going back to the Hockey News. They were the guys they started with 41 years ago now, and just having Jason Kay and the gang up there on the same wavelength as I was in terms of bringing the project forward. It was great timing.
See, it took that long. They're like, we need more pictures. Could you take more pictures? Yeah, we're going to need a few more photos first. We need to see a little more of your work.
Yeah, well, back a year and a half ago was 1.9 million, and they were waiting for that extra 100,000 to be able to whittle it down to 250 final images.
It's interesting, the modern technology and how it's changed in 41 years. You referred to a fact that, there's no more changing film to take black and white and color photographs. I mean, in so many different ways, the digital age has changed your life.
It has. It has not only in the speed of how fast you can get images out to clients, but the equipment itself and being able to look at the back of the camera, obviously, as everyone does these days, you kind of take it for granted that you can see right away whether you have the image or not. That whole thing is, the whole digital thing has just changed not only photography, but obviously every industry.
You know, it's like I can remember when our daughter was born. She's 16 now. So back then, You took the pictures, you went to Black's camera up here, and then you got the pictures, and you waited, and you hoped you had 3 good ones, right? You opened them, and it was like at Christmas, and you go, oh, sucks, and then 3 good ones that you keep. Well, now it's 100% because you can just delete the ones you don't like when you go digital. Is there a side of you that misses that signature you all had in the old days about getting a good shot?
No, not at all. Okay, move on. No. The changes have all been great. And of course, there are changes that a lot of us resisted. All the photographers were like, no, I want to shoot film. The film is better. And then somewhere along the line, probably around 96 or 98, the cameras started going to the next generations, as they do every other year, to get more money from you. And you realize, wait a second, this is a much better product. I can crop in easily and quickly in Photoshop. I can make the images better. I can lighten, I can darken, I can fix all the mistakes. And in today's world with internet and social media, you want to get those images out fast. You don't need to wait till the end of the night, or you can wait till the end of the night for newspaper deadlines. The immediacy of the product, the immediacy of the need for your product is there every minute of every game. And without digital, there's no way for you to hit those deadlines.
So they do that to you too. It's not just the iPhone. Every year it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they go, new hockey camera 12, new hockey camera 13. Here's...
I guess it's every 2 years that Canon and Nikon come out with another model, and they're always better, obviously. And you have to determine, especially if you're a freelance photographer, whether you can jump in for another $6,000 or $7,000 for each camera body. Hard to justify those expenses, but the better camera bodies might mean you're getting the image as opposed to not getting the image.
Yeah, well, obviously it's justified in this fantastic book and your career body of work, Bruce. We were just at the launch last night and just had a chance to go through some of the photographs. They're amazing. And one element, too, that's interesting is the remote control deal. A lot of your work is done in advance, preparing shots, let's say, with a net camera, a roof camera, whatever, a ceiling camera, all these different positions. So you're operating your own, and then you're like clicking buttons all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes you get tangled in the web of all the wires, especially when you're using so many remote cameras at Olympics or Stanley Cup. And you compound that with network wires that sometimes run out of your cameras direct to the editors who can work on your material in real time. So you not only have the wires to trip remote cameras, but then you're tethered to network wires, which gets pretty messy. Yep. I always said if someone spilled a beer on me, I'd go up in flames. But the remotes really are a great part of the game. Photo positions are quite limited in a lot of arenas, and those remotes I call the great equalizers, because if you don't have anyone on that side of the building from, different side of the building from the back angle, that remote could save the day and give you the image of a guy scoring and celebrating a game-winning goal.
Bruce Bennett joining Gord Stellick, Rob Simpson in studio. Hockey's greatest photos, the Bruce Bennett collection. I got to give props to Greg Abel, too. I go way back with him. But anyway, but I want to ask you about starting out, because it was a small, intimate world when I got involved in the 80s. And one thing I do miss, I like that there were no people wanting autographs. So a team would fly in seamlessly and just walk around town and, whatever. And in New York, Stan Fischler seems like he's been there forever. And then I just remember Wendell Clark as a rookie in 1985 and first time in New York, Bruce Bennett to take a picture of this, phenom. So before, in the pregame warm-up, I talked to Wendell before, and I'm standing with you, and all of a sudden as Wendell skates, you go, Wendell, stop. And all of a sudden stops. Bruce Bennett takes a picture. That ends up being Wendell's picture, I think, forever. That's been used forever and ever and ever. But so, how did Bruce Bennett get started in this way and so connected in the game of hockey?
I think my timing was right. Not only in shooting a bunch of hockey photos, but when I entered the industry, it was probably about 10 to 15 years before the trading card boom, which was the next evolution where all of a sudden everyone was shooting hockey photos. So it's kind of a ground floor entrance with the Hockey News. 1974-75 season. Sent some really crummy photos to the Hockey News, which was then up in Montreal, and they offered me $4 a photo. And I stepped right in and started shooting. Bad photos for a few years, but then I got better and better, and the business grew. And obviously, as I said, the trading card business brought everything to the next level. Working for Goal magazine, and which was the NHL publication for many years that everyone remembers fondly. And the Hockey News just gave me a great platform, and a lot of people tell me, I remember as a kid, I always hate that expression, but because it makes me feel old, but they say, I remember as a kid, I had pictures with your name under all the photos in the Hockey News. I remember seeing Bruce Bennett, who is that guy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I tell people it was my dad.
Steve Babino, I did a book with him on the Boston Bruins. He's kind of a similar timeline. I mean, there's only a couple of you that have had that success over a long period of time, right? Like Dave Regenick, I did some stuff with him in Detroit, but I think he was probably the 5th Red Wings photographer over that course of time. So small handful, very small, count on one hand, like the guys that have really kicked butt.
The old timers, Babs in Boston, of course, he's been a good friend for so many years. He started about the same year I did. He's been in 41 years, and Greg Abel has been around the same amount of time. Bill Whippert in Buffalo, who's still a tremendous photographer. And you can fans can go on gettyimages.com every night, and it's open for fans to take a look at the photos that these guys produce every night. I'd encourage them also to look at Jeff Vinnick in Vancouver, who's probably the best in the industry, and just see every night not only the great action images, but how those guys visualize the game. Because you take a group of photos, 20 to 25 on game night that each guy will post, and each of those photographers will have what we call a concise set of images. They'll have action, they'll have jubilation, celebration, they'll have dejection, they'll have headshot, they'll have the players warming up. It's a complete view of that night's game.
Now, NFL Films did a neat one. All the photographers that were at the first Super Bowl. There's nothing really. I don't know if it's quite comparable because hockey, the playoffs drag on so long. But it was neat about just Super Bowl I was played almost in anonymity, relatively speaking, to nowadays. So it was neat. Just I forget there are 8 of them, and one can't go, but they gather. Is there something comparable at all, like with you guys, as you talk fondly about a few other people in the business?
It's weird is when we all started, I think we were all so much more competitive with each other. Babs and I used to fight it out for every nickel and dime, and sometimes it was nickels and dimes that clients would use us against each other to get better prices. And then at some point along the line, I guess we all matured and we realized, we're all in this together. We're all fighting for better photo positions and maybe fighting for a modicum of respect, because the TV guys are always the big guys who get the best positions, and we need to form a little coalition of photographers who can try to lobby for, better working conditions instead of sitting on dirty milk crates in arenas and shooting through very tiny holes in the glass. We seem to be comparing notes a lot more often over the last 10 to 15 years. And it's, it's a band of brothers out there for the photographers now.
Seemed like about 5 years ago, maybe I'm just guessing, they were going to come down. I remember a new doctrine. They were changed the rules. We're going to shorten or limit your spaces, cut down the number of holes, la-di-da-di-da. Did that go away?
No, they did that.
They did do that?
NHL, commissioned a very expensive study. Let's just back up for a second. The primary thing is seeing that the players are safe.
Yep.
That's the primary thing. And the last thing you want to do as a photographer is hurt a player with your equipment or interrupt the play with sticking your lens out of a hole too far or dropping a lens shade on the ice, that sort of thing. And the NHL commissioned a study, and it determined how many holes would be appropriate to have in the glass for photographers to shoot through. And those 4.5 by 5.5 inch portals are now what is standard in every NHL arena. The glass holes are buffed and shaped in such a way as to protect players from sharp glass edges. And the positioning of those holes is also determined by the NHL within reason, depending on configuration in each individual arena. And it's all geared towards player safety. Very few positions left in the NHL that were those primary positions where myself and the old-time photographers started. Center ice, no glass in front of you, where you would get hit with sticks and pucks and players throughout a game, and you smell the liniment as the players would rush past you. Very few places left in the NHL where you have that vantage point.
Dave Regenick in our Winged Wheel book, to start the photographer's chapter, there's a blown-up photograph of, I think it was Michael Frolik, I'm just guessing. It was Blackhawks, Red Wings. A stick came through the hole and thwack, got like, it's an action shot. A friend of his, a gal across the arena in the stands, just clicked it. As the stick hit his face, he's like reeling backwards as the stick comes through the glass. It hits him right in the grill. If you had one of those?
Yeah. There's one that somewhat at Madison Square Garden, a guy by the name of Avi Gerver sent to me it was just one of the, you think about timing sometimes, you wake up and you flinch in the middle of the night thinking about the puck or the stick. And it was a really odd one at Madison Square Garden one year where I had a disabled fan just to the left of me in a wheelchair, a young kid, and I was talking to him periodically through the game, and at one point the players hit the boards really hard, and I leaned down and over, and I said, "How'd you like that? Was that okay?" And I didn't realize at that time that the players also, the stick had come directly through the hole, and if I hadn't bent down to talk to the kid at that moment, it would have gone right between the eyes. I would have gotten it. And so he got a shot of me, like, just picking my head back up and realizing at that point that the stick was through the hole.
Close shave.
Well, when we come back, besides his near-death experience, we'll talk about some of the other highlights Bruce Bennett's had in a great year covering NHL in pictures and now in book. Hockey's Greatest Photos, the Bruce Bennett Collection. He'll be joining us again in studio. Gord Stellick, Rob Simpson on NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM, Channel 91.
Cause you can, and you don't stop. Cause you can, and you don't stop. Oh, when you can, and you don't stop. I got the brand new dude, you guaranteed like you. I'm on like that's a job, damn it, the two. So I'm a newlywed, I got a default T, and everything I do is fucking like League Talk C. Well, it's a taking over.
Welcome back. Gord Stellick, Rob Simpson, NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM, Channel 91. And Mike Johnson will join us at the bottom of the hour, one of our regular insider segments. But Bruce Bennett joining us in studio. The Hockey's Greatest Photos, the Bruce Bennett Collection, is now available. Now, where can you get this?
Oh, everywhere. Bookstores everywhere.
Bookstores flag you down in the trunk of your car, and where else? Online?
Amazon's probably your best place. Amazon.com, Amazon.ca. Barnes & Noble, I hear, has it. Chapters up here in Canada has it. So it's out there from what I hear.
Give or take about 250 pages of and just mega giant wicked cool photographs. That's all I can say.
Thanks so much.
It's amazing. This is the tough question because I've heard Babs ask this and others, but your favorites is probably impossible. But so maybe just pick 2 or 3 images that are just, they kind of blow you away.
Well, you know what? Trying to pick your best photo is like selecting which is your favorite kid.
Yeah.
And I do have a favorite kid, but I really shouldn't say right now who that is. Let's see. Well, the cover photo of the book obviously was a favorite, and that's Wayne Gretzky as an 18-year-old playing for the Edmonton Oilers of the WHA. I had gone up to a game. Actually, they were playing New England Whalers up in Springfield when the Hartford roof collapsed back then, and photographed him because I wanted to get him in the WHA before he joined the NHL. Got a few action shots, of course, and then when those locker room doors opened, I was first guy online there, and he was a little bit like a deer in the headlights when he saw the onslaught of New York media, New York and Boston media coming in to see him. So it's a classic old black and white. It's nothing special in terms of technique. It's just the moment, and that's probably my number one #1 favorite.
Yeah, you go back to good old days that way, and then did players change in being cooperative, or have they always been pretty good?
Well, comparatively, you're talking about hockey players versus the other sports that I've dabbled in through the years. There are no players, no athletes, no human beings better than professional NHL players. So easy to deal with. I'm known a little bit for my sense of humor, and all these players I find to a T. I mean, these guys have a great sense of humor. They're warm, genuinely decent human beings. You don't really find that quality of individual in many walks of life, but the professional NHL players have a real sense of humanity and are just fun to be around.
A couple jump out at me from just flipping through the book last night after the launch. Travis Hamonic getting his face smashed against the boards, and it's like a freeze. Just the instant that his face is in that like anguish position is a pretty amazing close-up.
And that, you know what, that was one of those shots, you know, you kind of, you're in a bit of a hurry on game night to get images out, and I saw that at the very end of the night, and it's one of those things that kind of teaches you a lesson, you know, just spend a little bit more time and be a little bit more careful, because all of a sudden when an image gets a lot of notoriety, you always look back and you go, man, I should have spent an extra couple of minutes just fixing it up and cropping it right. That photo went out at the end of the night, and the next day or the day after, my Twitter feed exploded because ESPN put out something and it said Bennett's or Getty Images, Bruce Bennett might have the photo of the year. And I'm thinking, what, you know, like,
What are they talking
what are you
about?
talking about? So I clicked on it and I said, oh, yeah, I guess that's pretty good. You know, I cropped in pretty high on it, so its resolution isn't the greatest. But from there, it went, you know, it increased my my Twitter followers tremendously. And that following week, ESPN magazine ran it as a 2-page spread, and Sports Illustrated a 2-page spread, and followed by Sportsnet magazine with a 2-page spread.
Wow.
Who knew?
I also like I think it might be Halak. It's not like we're dwelling on the Islanders, but you did a time freeze. You opened the lens. You left it open, and he's frozen, Gord, like leaning in the crease, freezing the puck. And you know how the goalie stops moving because he's just kind of trying to make sure he doesn't move any body parts. But everybody else is moving around him, and it's with the closed or slowed down time. They're moving, and he's not.
And you know, it's one of those things. I wasn't shooting for that. I came up with this idea, and sometimes you get the idea seeing what other photographers do, and I think I saw somewhere where someone had mounted a camera and basically slower shutter speed, and you freeze the solid things in the shot, like the hockey net, and everything else is a swirl. Well, in that case, Halak ended up on his back, and he laid there perfectly still because the puck was underneath him. So the goal was sharp, and he was sharp and frozen, and then everyone else was swirling around him. And it's one of those things you really don't know until you look at, you know, you take the camera out of the rafters and you look through and you go, oh, I think I got something decent here.
Yeah.
Now, not asking it to, not talking out of school at all. I'm just more curious. Are there certain guys that players that or executives that you could never take enough pictures of? They would just all the time. And are there a couple that kind of just say, okay, enough, I'm not into it?
You know, in the book, there are a lot of portrait sessions that I did with players, and it's definitely not my forte. I don't know how to get the most out of guys in those situations. My studio skills are kind of limited, just because it's really not my it's not my basis of training. Really, I'm an action photographer, but you know, in this industry and photography industry, you want to be a little bit of a jack of all trades. And there were a lot of times with these guys where I would get bored quicker than they would. I'd say, okay, you know, sit there, look left, look right, look up, you know, turn your body towards me, turn your body the other way, look over your shoulder. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what else to do with you. Got any other ideas?
Right. You got Bossy with the burning stick.
Bossy with the burning stick. That was a fast one, though. You know, the fire alarms went off in Nassau Coliseum, literally, and that was, you know, I practiced the burning stick technique at home once, I think. I guess I should have practiced a few more times. A little cotton on the end of a stick dipped in kerosene, a really safe technique. And, yeah, he stood there for it. He was great.
take the camera down for a second, like, and moments, obviously I've seen you on the ice, been on the ice with you after cups and this, that, and the other thing, and you've done it a hell of a lot more than me and Gord in that situation, but ever just take the camera down and go, holy, you know what? Like, just favorite hockey moment where you're like going, holy crap.
Sometimes there are a lot of Stanley Cup games where you the rule is if you're going to go on the ice at the end of the game, you need to be in the Zamboni corner, like 5 to 10 minutes before the end of the game, or before the end of regulation. And you're standing there like a dope, and you're looking at the scoreboard, if you can even see it from there. Vancouver Olympics, that overtime, I'm standing there, I'm kneeling there, and I'm shooting remote cameras, looking at the scoreboard, hoping to get a winning shot. Lundqvist losing, or Rangers losing to the LA Kings a couple of years ago, same thing. I'm shooting a remote camera, and the fact is, I think that's my calm period during those events of, sheer panic in the stands, where you can actually step back and think more about the event, because all you're doing is pushing a button to trigger remotes. And I think that's the only time during those events where I kind of get out of the moment a little bit and think, wow, this is kind of wacky being here, and kind of absorbing a little bit of the atmosphere. Because to be successful, you really want to block all that out, and it's just you and the camera and the action.
Great shot, by the way. It's the dejection of Lundqvist with Martinez and Martinez and the rest of the Kings going nuts around him.
And that's one of my new favorites, simply because in one photograph, if you can see celebration and dejection in the same photo, usually you have a winner. And on that one, as soon as that play happened, I held the button down and had basically 30 to 40 frames to choose from. Which was the decisive moment? Where does he look the most dejected? And where are the players looking the most elated?
Well, just sheer elation here when we heard you were coming in, so no dejection from Simmer and myself. Like I said, great catching up with you. Congratulations on the book. Again, the hockey's greatest photos, the Bruce Bennett collection, forwards by Wayne Gretzky and Marty Brodeur, and something any hockey fan wants to check out for sure.
And a quick note about Bruce, how gracious he's been. Played in a Carolina media game at the All-Star game, and Bruce was like taking shots of all of us goons, media guys playing in this basically pickup game, and took all these shots. In the end, he said, just here, take them. He emailed them to us. He said, use them however you want. And my Twitter pic is still, I'm like, to myself, I got a Bruce Bennett. Yeah. My Twitter pic, it's a Bruce Bennett. It's no big deal. But it's sitting on the bench, and I don't I look like a dope in all my regular photographs, so I still use the Bruce Bennett on the bench media game shot that he took like 6 years ago, and he's just like, just use them. It's great. So generous, kind, and a great career. Thank you very much, Bruce.
Great being here with you guys.
Bruce Bennett joining us. We'll be back. Up next, Mike Johnson joins us. Gord Stellick, Rob Simpson in the morning. NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM Channel 91.